You've got to be willing to try a few things and not pin all your hopes on this one thing working out. Because obviously, in my management side and things, like I'd listen to people like Gary Vee and those people. And from a management, he's like a hire fast, fire fast. He's like, if they don't work out, you're doing them a disservice by keeping them and yourself. So, like, kind of have that rotating door available.
The way that I look at the space is like a microcosm of the economy, right? So
Mhm.
the macro economy, it may seem like, oh my gosh, offers are going to shit, lead flows, marketing shit in the bed, everything's just the world's falling apart. Forget the macro economy. Focus on the
Mhm.
micro economy. Welcome to Behind the Sale. I'm your host, Princess B. On this show, we talk about sales and leadership in the high ticket space. My goal is to help you level up your skills as a leader so you can close more deals and transform more lives. Today, we have Dave Barton on the show. I will let him introduce himself for the most part, but he is an incredible, not just sales rep, but now a manager, and he's also got his own business. He's doing all of the things. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of that, Dave, can you please give a quick intro so that way people understand who you are and actually share your background and how you got started in this space?
Yeah, awesome. We'll do. We'll do. So obviously from my accent, I'm one of the British lot that make it into the high ticket sales. For me, I've been in high ticket sales in this sort of industry for 3.5 years, coming up to 4 years now. And obviously, been around the whole circuit, so to speak, been part of everyone's masterminds, got to know a lot of different people. It's a great place. I kind of fell into the industry. Wasn't intended to. I actually bought someone's program just to get better at my sales because of I'm just 9 to 5, and I was like, surely I can make more money. And then when I was working with one of the guys, the coaches, he just went, "Would you like to make 500 instead of 50 per sale?" And I was like, "Sounds good." So then they just put me on an offer, and I just kind of fell into this space and kind of been learning from it since. But about me in general, big personal development and mindset fan. I love that side of things, and always try and bring authenticity and integrity to my sales and my coaching and my journey here. So that's kind of a little bit about me in this space.
Okay, amazing. So, when you said you just said you're really big on bringing authenticity to sales. That's something I'm curious about. Where where did that, I guess, USP, that personal USP, come from? What did it derive from?
Um, I think obviously I would love to say like my integrity and all that side, and it probably plays a role. But if I'm honest, I took so many different programs and so many different courses in sales, like literally pretty much everyone you can think of up until the last year. So some of the new people, not I don't know as much, but all the big names, all of them everywhere. And I think for me, I did that cliche of trying to replicate what I was learning and try to, oh, they're saying it this way, so it must be like that. Not necessarily the script, but sometimes that. But even just like mannerisms and like, people tell you, oh, you need to do this. And I was just like, this just doesn't work for me. Like I get it. I know what you're saying and I'm trying to do this, but this isn't working. Um, and then when I started to let myself be myself more and have my authentic side come through, which sometimes meant when a client or potential client said something on a call, I could then just be like, "What? Hang on, let's like kind of just pause the whole thing and just what was that even about?" And actually just bring up the conversation. And I was like, "Oh, this actually I can connect with people a lot better, and I can actually help more people." I think it came from that. Stop trying to be those people and realize they're ingredients that I can use, but some people want more cheese than others, right? So it's like use the bit that makes the sense to you and that actually fits, but you don't need to just replicate things. And I think it came from that trying too hard to find the silver bullet, realizing there wasn't one, and then being like, okay, maybe I can do myself in this as well.
Oh, that makes sense. I like that analogy of the ingredients because that's something a lot of people do is they try to replicate the person who's coaching them and it doesn't work. We're all
Mhm.
different. So yeah, I like that. You said the way that you got in was some guy said, "Hey, you want to make more money? Get in my van." Like that's how you kind of made it sound. So can you share a little bit more context around what it is that you started selling, just so we can
Mhm.
understand?
Yeah, that's hilarious. I know I don't want to. I want everyone just to leave it at that. No, I'm joking. So I actually bought Cole Gordon's program originally. So I came into I was in a 9 to 5, like as a project manager doing sales as well, just in the logistics industry. And I needed to make some more money. So I went into a commission only selling like websites and things like that. Just not remote selling in our sense, but kind of. But it was just kind of like just doing some commission only, had to do outbound dials and things like that. And I was like, I'm doing okay. I've already done like Grant Cardone's university and all those sort of people, like the normal big sales business people. I was like, I knew those, but I didn't know anyone else. I was like, surely I can do better than this. So I was actually deciding between two, Jeremy Miners and Cole Gordon's at the time. And it was when Cole hadn't even started doing the personal side yet. So it was Mitchell who rang me, who obviously now is doing all these amazing things, and he was the president of it for so long. So it was Mitchell, Igor, who's obviously one of the big coaches there now, and Cole, and that was the business. And that so I fell into them when they were just starting with all this. And then Igor was my coach at the time, and he was literally just like, look, you're making like 50 bucks a sale at the moment. Like, why don't you get into this industry where you can make like 500 per sale? And I was like, I didn't even know that existed, like, so that's why I'm not doing it. And he's like, well, why don't I try and connect you with someone and things? And then ultimately, it was actually, I'm one of those few, it's annoying because I'm one of the few lucky people that I got into an offer that I stuck for 3 years with because it was a great offer, a great, owner. I became sales manager because we got on so well, and just kind of like I kind of grew that way. Obviously, there's always things I could have done better, but that's kind of how I fell into it. So it was actually the coach who had, so I didn't buy the training to get in, like placement wasn't a thing. It was just training. And then he was just like, oh, we could connect you. And I was like, cool, let's do it. And then I kind of did that.
Wow.
So I did 3 jobs I did my normal job. So I woke up at like 6 in the morning, did the normal job, finished that, then did the remote commission only role with the um, websites for a couple hours. And then I'd do the remote sales offer until 2 in the morning. So I did that for a couple months. So this is why as well, when people are talking about like putting the effort in and things, like to me, I was like, I just need to make something work. So I spent the first couple of months working that type. I was going to bed at like 3 and waking up at 5 and just working hard.
Wow. Yeah. That's like what the OGs who are like back in my day, they used to work a lot harder. And it's funny when I think
Yeah.
of OGs, I'm just thinking of like people like Sean Ray and stuff who are just like
Mhm.
closers aren't doing enough. And it's true, they're not. But you're an OG. How does that make you feel? You're like old in my eyes
Back in
now.
back in my day.
Yeah. You were like the beginning of pipelines. Like you started you were the origin story of Cole Gordon's pipeline. That's so cool.
Maybe there'll be a documentary about me one day.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so random and cool. Okay, so speaking of pipelines, actually, that's kind of a perfect segue to talk about the state of the union, I'd say, the state of affairs, the state of the high ticket space. What I say is winter is coming. Things are slowing down across the board. It's becoming increasingly difficult for people to get on offers. How do I know? Because I coach over 100 people right now between one-on-one and group coaching, and I'm noticing that like a lot of people are struggling, like a lot. I'm curious what your thoughts are on why that is, like in terms of what's going on in the space, and just I guess a little bit about what the mindset should be for closers during times like this, because people are freaking out.
Yeah. I think this time of year it's historically the same for most businesses, to be honest. Most businesses have like that time around the winter where they're just kind of like, well, production slows down or customer base slows down, budgets don't renew till January. So it's kind of like a cultural thing as well. But I think with the high ticket space, we've brought a lot of the Western culture in, but we're not based on the Western culture anymore, right? Because we're remote. That's the whole point.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
So,
Yeah.
because a lot of the offer owners and like the bigger names, even the coaches are all either, European or American, right? And we're very similar cultures in terms of like logistics and all that side. So that I think is a historic thing. We think it's slowing down as well. But there's so many people, obviously now, even people like yourself who live in different countries and just travel, you're not bound to anything anymore. You're not bound to an industry, you're not bound to things. And so many great people coming from these other countries where their work ethic is different, and they do more things. And there's not like, why would we shut down at winter? Like that makes no sense to us. And I think, but we've got a bit of that. Um, so we kind of think it's all shutting down, and sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. I'm also a believer in that it depends on the circle you're in. So one of the offer owners I worked with, pretty much whenever you talk to him, leads are always bad. Everyone's struggling in this industry. Like things are show rates are awful. And then you're like, yeah, but I know this guy is doing like really well. So it's like it's clearly not the industry, it's like the circle you're in. And so I think with closers, we have to be careful of what circles we run in and who we listen to. Um, and then the mindset around that, because it's like if everywhere you're looking is scarcity, are you really gonna be in a group that's getting you on a good offer? Maybe, potentially, but the chances are that you're running in a circle where lead flow is sucking and you're around those type of people. But if you talk to some of these other people, so there's so many people. I know social media is like a echo chamber of whatever people want you to hear, but a lot of people are genuinely doing well. So that would be my first thing is looking at the mindset around that and being like, well, is lead flow sucking on an industry-wide level, or are we just kind of hearing those sort of things and reaffirming it to ourselves to make ourselves not feel so bad? Number
Mm.
one, because it's just like, well, if it's sucking here, but it's sucking there, then that's fine. Like I'm okay. And we tend to work to our what we perceive as like our peers level, which is why I think when I am a believer in like coaching groups and people and courses and things because when you do work around certain people, it does raise you to a different level sometimes or expose you. But yeah, I think a lot of it is just, you know, there's a lot of that mindset in it. But then there is the genuine side of people who are trying to find offers and just don't seem to. My thing behind that is I just think people are worried. I think it might come back to what you spoke about when you were on my podcast as well, which is fear of success. And I think some people don't feel they deserve to be on a good offer sometimes, or if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. It's a cliche, can help you stop getting scammed, but when you're looking for offers, sometimes, it can put you off actually being part of a good one. Um, so yeah, I don't know if I'm rambling, but for me, I think the mindset's half of it, and then the other half is just the fact that they're not applying themselves fully to what they want. So for me, like I was a part of that offer where I rose to sales manager, and I did that for a good couple of years, and then basically wanted to change. We changed. He wanted to go a different route. He wants to be more B2B, so he's restructuring that side. So I was like, cool, I'll take a different route. I'll take some other offers and do some other things. And like I got one really quick. And it's not because I was like, because I actually applied for a couple where the big forms and they're like, well, how much revenue have you made? What's your top thing? And like all my numbers are pretty good. Like generally speaking, they're decent. Never really got through those. The one that I got through really easy though was I was in a pipeline, messaged the guy. I was like, this one sounds really good. Like it's for ADHD coaching. I was like, I've got ADHD. This sounds awesome. Like I'd love to talk to people like that. And then I never heard anything back. So then I followed up and followed up, sent a funny meme, got in, and I skipped the whole interview process because he liked my follow up and just put me on a call like role play, and I just smashed it and got in. It's like sometimes you just got to do the work, and it's not hard work. It's just you got to do it. So I don't know if that's a bit of a ramble, but for me, I think it's a little bit of those side of things, really.
Yeah, for sure. Big thing that stands out is like the way that I look at the space is like a microcosm of the economy, right? So
Mhm.
the macro economy, it may seem like, oh my gosh, offers are going to shit, lead flows, marketing shit in the bed, everything's just the world's falling apart, the sky is falling. But it's like, forget the macro economy, focus on the
Mhm.
micro economy, like
Mhm.
my micro. So like your own economy, because as closers, we are all our own business, right? And so if we're paying attention to everything that's going on and we're letting that freak us out, we're letting that affect our mindset so much so that we're like, we allow that to muddle our, no, not muddle, kind of, but we allow it to be the excuse for why we're not on a good account. And that fear part is a big one too. So it's like all these different things kind of, yes, mushing together. That's a perspective I didn't look at before, which is, yeah, our internal fears and stuff. We're like, you know what? Yeah, I guess that offer is too good to be true because it seems like really good on paper. But it's like, if people just gave it a shot, then, they'd be in a better position.
Yeah,
So,
I think as well. I think you've got to also be willing for it to suck. Like you've got to be willing to try a few things and not pin all your hopes on this one thing working out. Like I think that's another side of it. Like I'm a big, because obviously my management side and things, like I'd listen to people like Gary V and those people. And from a management, he's like a hire fast, fire fast. He's like, if they don't work out, you're doing them a disservice by keeping them and yourself. So like kind of have that rotating door available. So not obviously just fire
Oh,
everyone. But I think
yeah.
I think you should look at the offers the same way. If you take what you said and we're our own business, then an offer's our clients, right? And we should hire fast and fire fast. So I think it's okay to take an offer and go, actually, this isn't what I thought, leave it and get on another one without having that stigma of, oh, like it wasn't, everyone's thinking he wants like this perfect thing and he's being really entitled. Like, yeah, you've got to work hard. Like, don't just, it's not an excuse then to just go, oh, that was awful and really you're bad. Like, you've got to have some self-awareness. But I do think it's okay, like, to go in and go, I'll trial this. Let me keep part-time on one offer. I'll cut my calendar down a bit, take this on, take a few calls and go, nah, no. And I think if you have that feeling, you probably also not got as much pressure, so you probably will do well anyway.
Mhm. So it's like the mindset that closers should have, or all sales reps really, is just that it's like dating as well, right? Like
Right.
everyone
Yeah.
expects to marry the offer that they go with. It doesn't have to be that
Yeah.
way.
No, and it probably shouldn't. Not just doesn't have to. It probably shouldn't because you don't even know, what else is possible, what else is happening. And I just think I think again that comes from that, you know, like even my parents, you had a career for life. So it's not even that long ago that that was our culture. But again, like most offers are around for like 3 years max. Like you're not in an offer for a life. Like your career is your business now. Like that's your life. But what you're selling, how you sell it, who you sell for, who you sell with, that's like your day to day, not your career. And I think just a shift on that would probably help a lot of people as well.
Heck yeah, that's another way that the Western culture is infiltrating our space. Oh my God. It's like I didn't even it's like a mind blown moment for me because I didn't even realize I didn't think of it that way, but it's true.
Mhm.
That's why people get
Yeah.
so stressed out. It's like, oh my gosh, I have to interview for another offer. It's like, it's okay. This is like we should normalize. I, I don't want to use the term offer hopping because it has a negative, it's
Mm.
derogatory, but it is what it is. If it's
Yeah.
bad, yeah, it's not
I think
serving.
I think it should, yeah, you should look at it as like collaborative hiring or collaborative sales or something. Basically, where it's got to be a win-win for the offer and the sales rep, right? It has to be. Otherwise, that's not a good deal for someone, and that means something's going to go wrong. You're either going to have resentment and stop selling, and then you cut your own income off, and then you're probably going to get fired, or the offer owner's having issues, and things. So, but I think it's funny because my brother runs a normal business, like a brick and mortar logistics business, and that side. So his hiring and everything is like you've got to have HR and all this side. I was like, I couldn't go through that again. Like, when we talk about like interviews here, it's like you could have like several lined up and you could try a couple of them and you don't have to go through this whereas like for someone hiring into one of those roles, they've got to quit their job, they've got to have a contract, they've got to make sure they're set for 6 months. Like we haven't got that. Like don't hold yourself back because of that's how you've come from. It's like here, like again, with respect, if you do it with respect and authenticity, like when I was hiring, I would rather someone come up to me and go, you know what, this I'm not aligning with this. And I'd be like, I can tell. Like, so how do we solve it? Do you want to work on this and we'll fix it? Or do you feel like you need to go somewhere else where you can make more money? Like that if sales managers and owner offers had that mindset as well, holistically, it would be a lot easier for sales reps to do well at their job. So I think it's a two-parter, but we can only control what we can control. So if we have that mindset and they don't, are you ready to be in a toxic relationship or not? Really?
Mm,
Going back to your dating thing, right? Like if
yeah.
I'm not able to leave, that's not really a relationship anymore, right? Like that's a problem. So
Yeah.
I think we need to approach things a little bit more like that, a little bit more open-minded, with the work side.
Yes, I think that really puts things into perspective because so many sales reps that I coach, I'm constantly having to coach them around like, these are red flags. It sounds
Hmm.
like the way they describe their relationship with their sales manager is like literally like an abusive or toxic relationship. And they are like afraid to leave because they have the scarcity mindset around, oh, how am I going to find a good opportunity again? It's
Hmm.
like, my friends, you're not in a good opportunity,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, so that's a great way to look at it. it also stifles their growth too anyway, even if someone thinks they're on a good
Yeah.
offer, maybe because it's a high ticket, like a like I don't know, 30K plus type of thing, and it still doesn't feel aligned. They feel like shit, like am I ever going to find something again with this income potential? But no, yeah. This is the high ticket space is small but also big in a way.
Yeah.
Offers, that's one thing, right? But then people, a lot more people these days are creating their own opportunities, right?
Mhm.
um I'm curious, when do you think it makes sense for someone to create their own offer or program?
Okay. It's an interesting topic, this one for me. So, ironically, I actually started my podcast and kind of what my network was because I saw so many people, and the irony is coming. Okay. I saw so many people who would go from sales rep to sales manager to sales trainer. And I was like, surely there's more we can do than just start training on sales now. But no one in our industry has shown us anything else other than you either you're either selling, managing, or you're coaching. And we've been in so many coaching programs that just becomes, oh, I could do that. Like I can see how that works, and I could probably do that bit better. And I think for me, it's like there's not enough um there's not enough help to show people that they can do more things when it comes to their own offer and their own even training. And I think I started my one, so that I could have people on who were doing different things and be like, what could you do? Like, how did you get into that side of things? And what is that? And so for me, I think it's like it's a shame we all end up in coaching. The irony is hey, that's what I do. So but I didn't want to, if I'm honest. I didn't want to coach. I wanted to help people. And then I saw that there was a lot of salespeople who would come to me in part of my team, and I was like, what are they teaching you at these other places? And I'd have to work so hard, and then they finally start selling, and then they're doing good. And pretty much everyone who's moved on is crushing it somewhere else. Now, again, I'm not the golden bullet or whatever that did that. But like that got me, was like, okay, well, I can do that pretty well. So I'll do some of that. But I think for most people, I think when you get to a point where your income is consistent and then you are safe, and then you realize if I don't put another investment vehicle in place, I'm going to have to sell until I die, which is again, the Western, we're talking about Western culture, right? Most people get a good job, their outgoings increase. So then they're stuck in this cycle of, although they're a remote closer and their own business, it runs on them completely and they can never retire. And it's the same with like mechanics who can earn a lot of money, or doctors, but as soon as they hit that 75 years old and are still working, and they can't retire because they can't get rid of the money would go. It's like when you're consistent and you realize I'm ready to put something in place that um means that I can retire when I want. I think then you can look at your own offer, your own business, your own whatever. And I don't think it needs to be sales training, but I think that's an okay way. But again, even with that, you're still stuck in a loop because it's still on you, you know. So I think that's what people need to look at, that financial literacy of just like, okay, so I've got this, money's good, check my outgoings, make sure I'm consistent. And then it's like, cool, I've got more capacity and bandwidth now. I can reduce my sales, put something else in place that's more like automated. That'd be
Mhm.
how I'd look at it.
Yeah, that's solid. Like create like I think the smart way to go about it, especially now with school and that becoming, a big thing, is create something that you don't have to fulfill on 100% because
Yeah.
yeah, you're in the same situation. Curious, what's your mission with Brave Sales?
And so with Brave, this is where I was coming more from my authenticity and integrity in sales. And this is where I was really, the hardest thing for me was my mission was to show people that there's not one way to do sales. Um, and that most things work if you do it in a certain way and in a right way. And then there's some things that don't work and you need to do this. What I started to realize, and this is again where my relationship with the industry fluctuates a lot, because what I realized was people wanted to be told this is what you need to do. And it became an interest because then I was like, oh, I get it now. I get why these trainers market the way they do, because that's what the audience is asking for. It's not what they need. And I think most of them know that. So sometimes they'll market a certain way, and when you get in, they'll then give you everything else you need. But other people won't because they're like, well, I'm making the money by selling you what you said you wanted. So with Brave, it started out with me just trying to open people's eyes and be like, there's so much out there. It's not just a tiny funnel of one thing that works. So let's look at how we can actually have integrity with people. And then as I started to explore that more, I was like, okay, so how can I open this up to people that think that's what they want and then work them through it. So it changes a little bit. It's still a little bit real still. It's not a fixed thing. And I'm not sure I'll ever have it fixed because I think that kind of goes against my whole personality. But if I want to market it, I'm gonna have to figure out at least one soundbite that people want. But that's kind of my mission. Just that you don't need to get stuck in something, and just because someone said this is the one way to work, if it didn't work for you, that's okay. There's other routes. That's kind of how I look at it.
So, are you saying that what the people need really is permission to be flexible, permission to,
100%.
okay, yeah, that's what
100%.
I'm
In
hearing.
fact, ironically, one of my last posts in my school community was actually have a process but be flexible with it. And it was that idea that you want to have a process, of course you do. You don't want to just go in blind, as in like, I'm just going to have a fun chat with this person. Like that's not your role either, right? Like your role is to have an intentional conversation and to get some form of outcome. So I look at it as like I like to see what doors are open or closed. That's how I look at things. I don't care if the sale closes. I care that we close a door on that call. So the same as like I say this if someone needs to get funding. I was like, you're not agreeing to do this, but you've got to test which doors are open to even know if which one you can walk through before you make a choice. So I look at life like that, what doors are open, what can close. And I think that's what processes need to be. It's like I've got these doors that are open to me, but as I go through the call, which one actually makes sense to push on? Which one should I try? Which one's open? Which one's closed to me with this prospect? And then that's how you kind of connect with people because there's so many different types of people who come into your calls. And if you treat everyone the same, you will have a consistent close rate, but it's going to be 20%, right? Like that's what's going to happen. So it's like, how do you actually have that flexibility? And it is okay to be flexible. So like, oh, should I do price here? Should I do price here? Do price where it feels you need to on that call. Like that's really what you need to do. Because if you don't, you're going to regret it and then that won't flow and you'll struggle and then you'll be like, well, that wasn't a good fit. It's like he wanted to know the price. Of course he did. Of course he did, right? Like, and everyone's like, oh, but he needs to follow my process. It's like, yeah, but your process has to be flexible enough to allow reality. Like, you can't just be like this, otherwise AI will replace you. Like, and robots will
Ooh,
replace you, right?
that is
Like,
very
if there's
true.
no if there's no flexibility in conversation, what are you doing? In my opinion, and that's my opinion, right? I know other people have different thoughts, but
Yeah, so if anyone takes anything away from this, be flexible, otherwise AI will replace you. A little fear mongering
there we go.
for
You heard
today.
it here first.
Yeah. No, but it makes that's totally true though, because then what makes us different? I'm curious, is that something that you are worried about happening in the nearish future, like AI doing full-on sales calls?
Um, Not massively. I think it will enhance the industry a lot. I've recently just bought another. I'm a book guy, so I love reading different books. And there's one, I don't know if you know who Jeb Blount is or Blunt. He's like he does
Oh,
loads of
yes.
things like fanatical prospecting or
Yes, that's
sales
the one.
EQ.
Hmm.
So he's released one called the AI Edge, and it's about how salespeople can incorporate AI and how they can help them. So it's been really interesting to read what the actual advances are in AI at the moment. But I don't know. I think the same as when like Amazon came out, you know, it definitely impacted a lot of shops, but there's still so many big ones out there that are still doing really well. Like, Walmart still exists, right? Like it didn't just shut down everything. And I think it enhances certain things and it changes it. So it will have an impact, but I don't think it's gonna take people's jobs just because they're in sales. But
Hmm.
if a robot can take your job, then it probably will. So you got to make sure
Hmm.
that you're not in that position, as in you're actually doing well, you're doing good, you're a human and you're working well with people. But if you're not doing that and you're just trying to follow an exact process and an exact script, then AI can do that. And it's like, so It might.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. We have a segment called the rapid fire question segment. This is where you respond with the first thing that comes to mind. Okay.
Hmm.
So let me stretch real quick.
I'm
All
feeling
right.
stressed on this one.
All right. First one. Do you have any business related superstitions?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I'd probably say I do. Business related superstitions. I would say just things like, to be honest, work hard and make more money is a bit of a business superstition that I still hold. And I don't want to because I know that's not fully true. It's what I leverage, but I do think that still exists in my head. Yeah, work hard, make more money. I think that's a business superstition I hold.
Dave, release yourself from the shackles of the Western culture. Like, I think this needs to be a movement. Now that I'm awakened to this, I can't unsee it now. I'm going to call it out everywhere I can now.
You just have to be careful we don't go too extreme with the messages. We might start merging into some other,
Yeah.
things out there.
Let's just create our own sales cult where, I don't know, like behind the sale and brave sales, like fuse to create this cult of what are we going to call it? Eastern sales culture? Yes, maybe.
Yeah, galactic. Let's go outside of the
Yeah.
world, right?
Yeah. Um, do you have any career regrets? Like maybe opportunities that you passed up on that you're like, fuck, that company's doing 1 million a month.
Yeah, so yeah, I do. I definitely do. Honestly, one of them will sound a bit weird, but staying with the one offer for so long was a bit of a regret for me because I saw potential, but it never quite got to where it could have. And I think I used that potentially it could get there. We talked about relationships and it being similar, right? That thing, yeah, but they're, you don't know them like I do. They're a great guy, like that type of feeling. And it's like, I know he's got potential, right? And then it just didn't really go as far as it could have, but I probably could have been somewhere else by now had I gone somewhere else. So that's why I kind of now have that hire fast, fire fast mentality with offers, because I think I got burnt myself by just trying to stay too committed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. It's like everyone who stays in a relationship where it's like, wasn't that great? I shouldn't have wasted my 20s, my youth. I get
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
it. What would be a dream day in the life for you? Like when you've made it, I suppose.
When I've made it. Um, Dream day, probably for me, it would be waking up early, and then doing something that I actually care about for the first few hours that grows and impacts me and my family and my life in a positive way. So it could be a business, could be that type of thing, but something like that. Do that for a couple hours um and then I'd spend time with my family in the main morning section. Then I would still probably do a few like calls and things, but more around like I'd like the coaching side or where I'm actually impacting someone positively. So maybe just a really good offer that I really believe in or that type of thing. And then and then after that, the evening is mine to do with what I want. Because family and my lifestyle is my goal. Money's not. Money's never been my goal. Which is why sales is a juxtaposition for me because
Mm.
so many things and so many people, it's like you've got to do this, you've got to want this, you've got to want this. And I'm just like, I don't. But the things I want do take money, so that's why I have to do it. um, but I do want to have an impact. So working on a business, impacting people, and then living with my family, that would just be the perfect day.
Amazing. If you can have any superpower, what would it be and why?
The superpower one. Oh, I don't know this one. See, I don't want to read people's mind because I get stressed with just what's in mine, right? Like I don't want to hear everyone else's.
That's a classic
Um,
ADHD thing to say.
yeah, it really is. Um, I don't know. Flying's always been cool. I just don't want to be like, if I can fly, will the government try and capture me and do
Of
experiments? That's always been my
course.
concern, right? So
Of
it's like,
course they will.
I don't
Yeah.
want to do that. But flying would be my favorite. But um, yeah. Why don't we take a practical one? Let's go really boring, right? And just go that I could actually just implement the things that I learn. That would be a great superpower for me. Right? I've
Okay.
got so much up here, but I just don't do it.
Again, very ADHD of you.
Yeah.
Mm. I'm curious, have you considered making that part of your USP, like really attracting people in the sales business space who could use some extra coaching in that aspect because maybe some of the more conventional things just it's hard to make it work because that's kind of it sounds like it's along the lines right now.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. A lot of my social media presence is around my mental health, and around that side of things. And I think that has had a bit of an impact on who resonates with me. But I do think it's something that needs to be spoken about more because I think naturally a lot of people with ADHD or that sort of similar, they tend to fall into sales or entrepreneurship. And then they're trying to apply all these normal techniques that just don't work. And I think that causes a lot of stress and a lot of burnout. So I definitely do like that route, which is why I love the offer I'm on. My thing is I haven't, if I'm honest, I haven't fully understood it myself to try and this may be like a bit of a limiting belief where like because I'm sure I'm further along than some people so I could help a certain portion but I still feel like I need to learn more about it myself but the offer I'm on the guy and the team there are a lot further down that journey so I feel good about helping people into that program but that's more business that's not sales so it is definitely something that's close to my heart but I do think I have that sort of limiting belief that stops me kind of really going for it until I fix it all right which right? It's not going to happen. That's not the point. But that's
Yeah.
kind of how my brain works.
Okay. Well, can I challenge you enough to even take a baby step toward going for it, even if that doesn't mean like, just completely change all of your marketing to make it that, but just be more vocal. It's just a lot of the things that they could just use more support from someone who gets it more, truly.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not the end of the world if you're not a freaking expert on it. You'll never be a quote unquote expert. That doesn't matter.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll accept your challenge and
Cool. Good.
I'll take a baby step.
Good. I really appreciate your perspective on things. It really is, it's so different. When it comes to certain things, your mind just goes places that mine doesn't. So that's why I love having these conversations. That's why this is not a fully solo podcast, because we can add so much more value for people, right?
Mm.
With those different perspectives and experiences and all of that. So thank you so much for coming on today. Before you go, can you please do two things? So every guest, I have them propose a challenge for the audience. So that's one. And the other thing is, of course, let people know where to find you, where to join Brave Sales so they can get some more value from you.
Yeah, 100%. So with the Brave Sales side, I have a school community. So you can just search Brave Sales on there, or if you find me on Facebook, my bio has the link.
I'll also
So
put it
you
in
can
the
kind of just click through
bio.
on there.
It'll be on the
Awesome.
bio too.
So if you want to be part of a community, it's not a sales funnel. It's not to get you into a one-to-one relationship with me or anything. But I do free coaching calls in there, and we have a community and there's trainings. So it's just a free place to be to learn more about my way of doing sales. Um, as a challenge, it's an interesting one. I would say for all the salespeople out there that I'm going to do two. Okay. So if you aren't on an offer that you actually want to be on, or you still are looking for one and going, there's just no good offers, or this is a block, or whatever, I want you to actually push through on the steps you need to take to get in front of as many interviews as you can. And don't worry about the things that they say they want, but just show them who you are on those calls and actually just be there. So if they want experience, don't worry about, oh, I haven't been selling long. It's like if I was looking for experience, it's like, can you connect with my audience? That's what I actually am asking. So just show yourself, and if you believe you can, show them how. But don't go and try and people please. Just be yourself. So that'd be challenge number one. For people who are doing loads of sales things and they're wanting to grow and actually want to get better at sales, stop looking for the silver bullet and start looking for what you can apply from the things you're learning into your own self and bring yourself more to the calls. That would be the biggest challenge for most people because then you can actually make a difference and you're not going to burn out. So that would be my two challenges. So don't listen to a lot of the advice out there where I'm starting to see it again. You can't wear glasses on a sales call. You can't do this. You can't do that. Like, dude, I'm turning up however I want, as long as it's okay, like socially acceptable. Like, I'm not turning up with no clothes on, right? Like, that's a different thing. But like, turn up and be yourself. Don't look for the silver bullet and actually just try and help people. If you apply that, you're going to go way further.
Mm, I love that. That's very true. I love what the specific verbiage you said, bring yourself more to the calls, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah.
100%.
Mm, love it, love it, love it. Oh my goodness, so good, so juicy. But we are out of time. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you've made it this far in the episode, please give it a thumbs up. Clearly, you got some value from it, right? And of course, subscribe so that you don't miss future episodes. And as always, remember to hold yourself to a higher degree so you can be the most effective leader you can be. Until next time, bye, guys.